Hello and welcome along to the best of the big show.
Yes, we're going to take a look back at some of the best guests of last year. Robin, who was your favourite guest last year?
Well, do you know what? We had lots of great guests on the show throughout the year, but one guest who's always good value is Brian Kennedy, because every time he comes on the show, he also gives us a great piece of information that we've never heard of before, like which Hollywood movie star once appeared in Van Morrison's band for a week. Here's the answer. Every time we do this, we sit down for a chat, you tell the most amazing stories. Right. You do. Okay. About all kinds of people. So there's got to be a book in there about all the people you've met. There's got to be a life story there somewhere.
Well, you know, I did write an autobiography, and it's called Harmonising with Ambulances, and it does exist. Mm. But these days, because of the way the law works, it's very difficult to actually tell the truth. Because, you know, maybe one version of the truth is not somebody else's version. Also, there are people out there who value their privacy and don't want to be written about. And I get all of that. So my book currently is on a cyber shelf, waiting for a few people to die, perhaps. But yes, I forget, you see, that what I've been through in the last 30-odd years. And again, a lot of that would be because of touring with Van Morrison and then singing with him and Bob Dylan and Joni Mitchell and meeting the most incredible actors. Richard Gere was in the band for a week. One time. Oh, yeah. Did I never tell you
How
that?
and why? You've never told me that.
Oh, God, yeah. Richard Gere was making a movie at the time. I think it was called Knight or something. K-N-I-G. He plays a knight. Uh-huh. And his hair was dyed kind of dark brown. And he had a very beautiful model girlfriend at the time. But somehow he ended up coming to a gig. He then got up and played guitar with us in Brighton. Guitar. And I remember Van just saying, I just want to introduce an actor friend. He didn't even say who it was, of course. An actor friend. You could see the audience kind of going, looks a bit like, oh my God, that's Richard Gere. So he toured with us for just over a week and got up with us and played guitar every night. And the song was "And the Healing Has Begun" because it's 3 chords. Yeah. And he was great, but I would often be at the side of the stage chatting to him. He was really friendly. I mean, listen, ladies and gentlemen, what a beautiful man. Dark, dark, dark brown eyes. At that time his hair was brown. And just a real music fan. And there's all kinds of things I could tell you, but not on camera. Sorry about that.
And of course, it's a big year for anniversaries as well, because the Moondance album, 50 years old this year as well.
Yeah. And I've been spending a lot of time. One of my favourite ever Van songs is "And It Stoned Me." That whole album, every song is a hit, every song is a radio tune. And It Stoned Me is apparently based on a fishing trip up Cumber Ballystockart Road. So I've been kind of driving around trying to find any fishing spots, you know, where Van might have got his fishing rod out, and I've been taking photographs of it and all of that. So Moondance is glorious. Obviously, the title track is magnificent. Into the Mystic, Brand New Day. You know, it just goes on and on and on. And Astral Weeks, the record that preceded that, was very artistic and free jazz and free association. And I think he just thought to himself, right, I'm going to give these people a bag of tunes. And Moondance is a bag of tunes, and it'll never grow old. It's just absolute classic.
Now, what about Van covers over the years? Because so many people have covered his music. My favourite has to be the Marianne Faithfull version of Madame George.
Yes, because she gets into the drama of the character of Madame George, and I think that's a great one. I think Dusty Springfield doing Tupelo Honey is also an incredible one. And she's got an extra verse, which Van, I think, wrote but never got around to recording. So it's as well as Dusty Springfield just taking it to heaven as a song, there's an extra verse in it. So that always fills me with joy, you know. And the number of bands that have done incredible versions of Gloria over the years, people like Patti Smith and The Doors. So his songbook is just, you know, I think by now, and I'm a terrible Van Boer, but I think people appreciate how great he was. But, you know, we'll have to keep banging on forever about how absolutely super duper great he is, because it just mood songs. You can be born to a Van Morrison song, you fall in love to a Van song. You get married to a Van song, and you get buried to a Van song. He just covers every mood and every occasion in your life. So, you know, I will probably go into the crematorium while Van is singing Into the Mystic, I'm at that stage of my life where you have to consider these things, Robin,
What a great way to go, Into the Mystic.
When that foghorn blows out, I'll be coming home again, and as an East Belfast chap, that's the way to go. You have to have an East Belfast person singing you in your last journey, really.
So did you find it difficult being on your own during lockdown?
I did, yeah. I mean, I think, like a good few people, I was probably eating too much junk, and the bottles of wine might have came out some nights, and then you'd be sitting there in bed till midday the next day. And in the end, I had to focus on a project because I was just not used to having so much time on my hands, and you start overthinking everything, and especially when you're living on your own. So I started a building project here. I built a man cave in the garden, should we call it? And it's actually the size of a little cottage, but I'm kind of in the finishing. It's about 90% built and finished. So that's been a project for the last 3 months, which has been great, and it's kept me busy.
So what kind of things do you have in your man cave? Do you have a full-sized bar in there?
There is a full-size bar, yes.
Oh, wow.
I'm afraid to say, it's actually. I'm going to use it for recording. It's going to be a recording studio, but the problem is with the bar there mightn't be that much recording gets done.
I love to welcome each new day. I love to walk through fields of hay. I love to hear the cuckoo's call, but I love chocolate most of all. I love chocolate most of all. I love to ramble in far-off lands, walk for miles on golden sands. But I also love the city lights, lazy days and crazy nights. I love the gifts that nature gives, the sights and sounds of all that lives. Winter, summer, spring and fall, but I love chocolate most of all. I love chocolate most of all.
So you're watching the best of the big show here on NVTV. So Pauline, who was your favourite guest of last year?
Well, that's a really good question actually, Robin, because I have to say that it was the Boyz. I had a great time with Boyz on Block, and also, of course, my good friend Chris Baston.
Of course, so Boyz on Block, a boy band supergroup from the 90s, Shane Lynch, Abs from Five, Ben Ufedu from Fats and Small, and Dane Bowers from Another Level. Here's what happened when we met Boyz on Block. There's a song that I still love playing on the radio today, as I did back then as well. Little song called Turnaround, which is never going to go away.
What's wrong with you? I'll never get tired of singing that song. Yeah. It's kind of aged like a fine wine. It's the gift that keeps on giving. It's a great dance. I never knew. I mean, there's a lot of records, like we are recording songs like a lot of what we would call like cult classics. Great moments that happened in music that people they just don't get played on the radio for one reason or another. Some of it's the sonics of it, but with Turnaround, to say the truth, the secret is sonically it really doesn't stand up to the dance tunes because it was done so long ago. It was done on like a 4-track. It's not, but for some reason the soul and the heart and what it stands for and the
bend.
Is that? But it's that arresting, hey, what's wrong with you? That thing, and it just sticks with people. And I think that's it. But if I knew, and if anyone knew the secret of a hit, you'd do it again and again and again. But you just,
Hey,
what's wrong with you?
You ever see Ben out and about?
It's fine, man.
Quite right. When I was a little girl, I knocked out my two front teeth, and I was called Kirstie Allsop for all of my primary time, and it wasn't much fun. Bigger kids used to come up to me and get me to say my name, and I had a terrible lisp as a result of not having those two front teeth. And I was fine. My mum got me some help because she had the wherewithal to do that. But something as simple as a speech impediment that comes from not having your teeth can really blight your social skills and your education.
Now, I know you're dying to sing on this Christmas show.
Do you know something, Susan? I have been a fan for years and years. My mummy and I used to go and see you, and I remember you giving me a very, very good piece of advice. And I remember the favourite song of mine was Limerick, You're a Lady. Will you sing a wee bit for me so as I can boast?
You're a lady, the one true love that I have ever known.
I can say that I sang the first lady of country. Yay!
You know what? Yeah, that was a hit for me. That song, Limerick, You're a Lady. And mind you, I haven't sang it for ages, and I must get it back into the repertoire again. Whenever we get back on the road again, hopefully soon.
That would be brilliant.
Yeah,
that would be brilliant.
Soon.
And if we come and see you, you'll get me up and I'll sing a wee bit.
I definitely will do that, Pauline. No problem.
Brilliant.
No
I
problem.
look forward to it.
I see it all now, oh so clearly. You sold me cheap when I loved you dearly, and I nearly fell for it again. You wrote me off, signed yours sincerely. P.S. You didn't mean it really, and I nearly fell for it again. But if I fell for it again, I might fall forever. But if I fell for it again.
And that was my good friend, singer-songwriter, Chris Baston.
Now, we started off the year 2020 with a trip to Holiday World, like we do every year. And who did we meet?
We met the lovely Debbie McGee.
Here she is. So I'm glad you mentioned Paul there. You must miss him terribly.
Terribly. I mean, when you lose somebody that you've been with for so long, and we worked and lived together, you know, that it does. I don't think it'll ever go away from me, but you just have to learn how to create a life without them but still remember them, and that's what's lovely for me, is I've got all these amazing memories, and you know, there's so many things I'm doing now, and I just think he would be so pleased at how I'm coping.
And we saw you and Paul on TV for many years. That was kind of the glory days of television when you had like 20 million viewers tuning in to watch you. That must have been so much fun.
Oh, you know, we just loved it. And you know, you create a family around you of all the people you work with, who I bump into every now and again. And when I was doing the Strictly Come Dancing series 2 years ago, the lighting guy who was on the magic shows came and said to me, "Do you know, Debbie," he said, this shows how old I am, I started on the Paul Daniels Magic Show, and this Strictly series, at the end of it, I'm retiring. So I started my career with you, and I'm finishing my career with you, which actually I thought was lovely. But so.
And then he proposed after 10 days.
Oh my goodness!
He did. He
I
wrote
thought
me
you
a
were
poem.
quick in the proposals.
How quick was I?
Well, it was a few weeks. I mean, he was drunk at the time. He said, "You're definitely, we're going to get married." And I said, "Are we? Let's see if you still feel the same in the morning."
Well, we're very happy. We're together nearly 18 years now. So
brilliant.
We're married 15 years, so we're very happy. But no, we get on really well, and I love her company.
I think even better now.
Yeah, we do. Well, I've had more time. You've got to remember, the first 4, 5, 6 years, I was travelling away to Skye.
4 times
you know,
a week.
4 times a week. I was flying out the Tuesday, Wednesday to do Champions League, home on the Thursday, off Thursday, Friday, fly out Saturday morning, come back on the Monday.
Yeah.
You know, it was one of those. So we didn't get seeing an awful lot of each other.
But I used to always say to him, "Oh, I don't need the big fancy house. I don't need this, and you know, I just want you to be with me all the time." And we've got that now.
Yeah, we've had that for the last 2 years.
We're so happy.
Yeah. I want to talk to you about Philomena as well, because you must have been a big fan of hers over the years, and then to end up performing with her and writing songs for the Queen, that must be something very special.
Yeah, it always is, you know, because Philomena has just a certain way of telling a story in her voice. It really is magical, and so writing songs for her is quite easy, really. And when you hear them back, like she sent back the the latest single, Half a Chance, it just gave me goosebumps. It was just exactly how I'd pictured it when I was writing it. And I've also worked with Foster and Allen this year as well. Wrote a song for them, and they asked me to get involved in the recording and sing on the track. So that will be out in the new year as well. It's called The Good Old Days. So, even though the gigs obviously are not happening, I've been really, really flat out, with different things, making videos and recording vocals and all that. And it's just great to collaborate with these legends that I've been listening to since I was a child, So it's just, that's one of the great perks of the job at the minute.
My daddy was right when he said I'd be something. He said, always aim high and shoot for the sky. So much to say, I'm never holding back nothing. My heart on my sleeve, my hopes were set high. And every time they knocked me down, well, every time I stood back up, to you this is what I say. Someday when my name's in lights, you'll look back and see what you missed. Someday when I move on, you'll think back to our song. It's gonna hit you right then. Just watch you lost now, baby. You're just another name in my history book.
We had some amazing music guests last year,
including the lovely Mary Coughlan, somebody who I've always wanted to interview, and last year she released a great new album called Life Stories, and here's what happened when we met Mary Coughlan.
So tell us about the new album, Life Stories. Obviously it's all about your life.
Yeah.
There've been a lot of dark times in your life as well, so when you're putting the album together, did it bring up lots of bad memories?
Well, I've been doing therapy for I'm 26 years off the jar now. I had to slip about 16 or 17 years ago with the drugs. It was brief enough, and so I've kept on doing various kinds of therapy, and the last kind of therapy I think I really wanted to do was regression therapy. So it regressed me back into areas of my life that I had kind of just frozen over,
Now we're sitting across the room. Look at me and look at you. Is there nothing you can say to give me reason why you felt the need to turn your back and do the deed? Now you got the nerve to beg me, don't leave me here. What was I thinking of? Love, love. Now we're two breaking into one, breaking up 1,000 days into 1,000 ways to run me through. Look at what you've done, carving up your next of kin in spite of everything we've been through. How could you? How could you?
What about guys like George Jones and American legends like that? Because you worked with him as well, didn't you?
I met George a couple of times, but I never worked. I met him with Big T at a hotel in London when they used to put on those country festivals at Easter time at Wembley. Do you remember that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Back in I think they finished from sometime around the early 80s, but all through the 70s, Mervyn Conn used to put on this big festival for the whole weekend of Easter. And T and I met George at about 2:00 on the Saturday, the Royal Garden City Hotel, and there he was sitting on his own. Trevor says, "There's George Jones." So Trevor goes over, how you doing? And the first thing George said was, "Look, guys, I'm on at 6:00 and I can't be drinking." Of course, that was it. He was carried onto the stage at 6:15, out of it.
And it was all Big T's fault.
All Big T's fault. That's what I'm saying anyway.
How did you end up at Paisley Park with Prince?
Well, that was another roundabout thing. A good friend of mine, a guy named Dave Hampton, was called. He's a technician and a studio builder. He was called to repair the studio, and he's always trusted me to help him out and tell him what's going on sonically. And I was the first call to come out to Paisley Park once he started doing some technical stuff. And then we ended up being stuck in Minneapolis in a good way, in the cold and everything, but working night and day at Paisley Park. And Prince was out on the road touring. I got a chance to work on some things on, it started with the musicology project, and then we proceeded through 3121, did a lot of other stuff behind the scenes. You know, you pull something out the vault when he's coming in and everything. So to be honest with you, I recorded on a bunch of things there at Paisley Park that I wouldn't even have a clue to remember. It's just like pull out the tape, do something, then it goes back in. Yeah.
So is it true the vault is kind of just full of thousands and thousands of music tapes?
Man, it was incredible, you know, just endless music. You know I didn't even see but a fraction of it, because a lot of times we get the word and exactly where the tapes were, pull it out. You know, when I say tapes too, this 24-track tapes, but the transition from tape to digital audio workstations in the computer was happening then, so we were doing a lot of things and transferring a lot of things. Yeah, tons and tons of things to keep track of.
We'll take the back roads, 'cause it's all we've ever known. The brakes hit the car floor as we've nowhere left to go. Do anything to forget that we can't bear to go home. Give me a reason to leave this all behind. Help me believe that there's something out there left to find. Oh, tell me a story. Let me slip into your words and fly away. Oh, tell me a story. Get me out of this town and this place. Oh, tell me.
Lots of people tried new things during the lockdown last year.
Including home haircuts, which is something you had a go at, isn't it?
I did. I had a great time, Robin. I gave Robin his very first haircut by his wife. It was quite the event.
It was, and before you did that, we took some advice from top hairdresser Paul Meekin. Now, obviously, you've probably got your special hairdressing scissors with you. What happens if somebody grabs a pair of scissors out of the kitchen drawer, and how's it go?
We talked about this in the video, so you'll see that, because really, I literally abandoned the shop. You know, we were all, the guys were all quite stressed. We put a full day in, and we literally just left everything. And I have no combs, no fancy scissors here at all. So basically, I had a bit of fun yesterday and showed the guys this is definitely what you're going to be using. So, you know, it was basically showing them what they can do with kitchen scissors. I wouldn't recommend pinking shears, which I've heard people using.
Oh no!
My grandmother's sitting there pinking shears, cutting up fabric. So I don't recommend pinking shears or nail clippers, but you know, a good sharp pair of kitchen scissors or dressmaking scissors might do the trick.
So the first thing I'm going to do is show you some of the tools that I have gotten. I got this from the pound shop. It's all different types of combs just in case I need it. I also got these more looking professional ones as well, just in case. Now, with regards to scissors, I have two options. One, embroidery scissors from the pound shop.
What?
And normal kitchen scissors that I already had in the house. Are you still nervous, Robin?
Very.
Don't worry.
Can I just check, have you taken advice from an expert on this?
Of course I have,
Have we got Paul Meekin on hand just in case something goes wrong?
Is definitely on hand. He did a video a few weeks ago of how to do a fringe.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to give it a wee go. I'll just do a few wee bits to start with, Robin, so don't panic.
Right, okay.
So the first most important thing
for me to do would be to get my own hair out of the way. I mean, we don't want to make any mistakes on mine, you know, cut mine accidentally instead of Robin's. So here we go. So, okay, so I don't have a sprayer because I've got all my disinfectant in the sprayers. So I'm just using my hand to just dampen up the hair. You nervous, Robin?
Very.
We should have really had a towel around you, but sure, don't be worrying. So, I'm going to start at the back.
The best place to start when nobody can see what kind of mess you're going to make down there.
Well, exactly. So I'm going to just, I've seen this being done in the hairdresser, so I'm just going to, oh gosh, right, okay, here we go.
Now watch the ears, watch the ears.
It's alright, I'm nowhere near your ears. Here we go.
And what scissors are you using? Because it sounds like you're slicing with
I'm trying to do this, you know, in like one that he said to do, but it's actually easier to just do exactly the opposite of what he said. But then it is quite long, so maybe once I've got the ends off, I can sort of fix it a wee bit. See what happens here. Oh, that's not too bad. I think you'll be quite pleased, Robin. That's what I've done so far. I don't think that's too bad. It's only one side.
Well, there's less of it.
There's definitely less of it.
I can feel that. Is it a good job? Is it a good job? Is it?
I don't think it's too bad. I've got to get down here a wee bit. It's still a wee bit.
Oh, I felt that.
What?
Now, before the success in music came along, you were a hairdresser for a very short time,
Do you have
weren't
to
you?
mention this, Robin? Yes, when I left school quite early because I wasn't the best brain in my box. I wasn't brainy at all, and I got hit a lot by the nuns when I was a youngster, you know, and I was always scaredy. I was very sort of a nervous child at school, and it wasn't all sinking in, you know, and so I left school early, and then I didn't want to become a hairdresser, but, you know, when you're 14, 15, what else do you do?
Yes.
So, anyway, I kept at it for a couple of years, and then it was Pensioners' Day one day, and this wee woman came in, and they all want their hair as short as they can get it, so that it'd be a wee while before they'd come back again, you know, because they didn't have the monies, you know. That's why there was a special Pensioners' Day. But this wee woman had a very short neck and flabberlob earlobes, and and it was my first time doing. The owner went away on holiday, and she thought, I suppose I was going to be okay with the pensioners. They, you know, they'll be all right with me. And anyway, had the towel round her, and it was a curly perm, and she wanted it dead straight coming down at the back of her neck, but she had a short neck, you see. So I was trying to get as short as I can, and I cut a piece of her ear off, and she didn't notice it at first until the blood was going on the white towel. If it had been a dark towel, she might not have noticed, and there was a bit of it hanging off.
My God.
And anyway, she ran. Well, she didn't run down the stairs, but she went speedily down the stairs because she was quite old. And there's so many things happened. I felt so sorry for her, but she didn't stay around enough for me to be sorry.
Yes.
And then another time a woman took an epileptic fit underneath the hairdryer.
Right.
And see, it was right in the middle of Newry Hill Street.
Yeah.
And everybody used to stand and, you know, when they see the ambulance, you know, so it was all around the town that I electrocuted the woman. That was more or less what they were saying, you know. I don't know whether an ambulance was so far back. But anyway, I did 3 years until I had to do the exams, and I thought, I'm doing no exams.
Yeah.
It'll feel like going back to school again. And that's, I knew I used to bring my accordion in and play, and you know, in those days, it was old-fashioned hair dryers that made a lot of noise.
Yes.
So I'd bring my guitar in and the accordion, and women would be reading their magazines underneath the hairdryer, and the noise of it, and I'm going, singing a wee song and everything, and they're going, that's lovely, that's lovely. So I was a frustrated singer, and then I just knew that that's what I wanted to do from a very, very early age.
Now, we binge watched lots of TV shows last year during lockdown, as did many, many people.
Yeah, I think we probably watched more TV than ever before. One of the hit shows last year featured Joe Exotic. We're talking about the Tiger King. That was a show that we loved, didn't we?
It was incredible, and you know the whole story around Carol Baskin, and you know the fights between the two of them, and he's in prison now. It's unbelievable.
Well, exactly. Well, Brian Kennedy was also glued to the Tiger King, and he gave us his thoughts on the show.
Obviously, everybody watched The Tiger King. Everybody has their opinions about that. I kind of loved it because it was so mad, but I also kind of hated it because I hated the way he treated gay marriage so flippantly, that he would just jump from one marriage to the next. And given that, you know, certainly I, you know, obviously, you know, got on board and really, you know, we did a lot of. I think we did a lot of work to get gay marriage legal. Certainly, I know you're talking to me from Northern Ireland, and it's only a new thing up there. But you know, here I did a lot of, you know, fundraising. I did all of that kind of stuff, and it's kind of weird to see it so flippantly in a because that was a real documentary, of course. But I did ultimately enjoy the spectacle of it and the horror of it. So I did that.
Claire, tell us the experiences you had with your family.
My experiences started about 10 years ago when my daughter was born. She was very premature and she was on life support for a while. But so when I eventually took her home from hospital, and we lived in central London, I realised that she was very vulnerable to anything indoors or outdoors. When I stepped outside, and I lived next to two lanes of heavy traffic, was the A1, which goes into one of the central arteries into central London, I noticed she started coughing, and this cough became incessant. She had an inhaler from a very early age, and my daughter was only 3.5 pounds when she was born, so imagine those tiny little lungs trying to cope with all that toxicity. And then fast forward 2 years later, and we moved to the northwest of England into the suburbs, and things changed. Within about 2 or 3 months, that inhaler was gathering dust, you know, on the side, and she was a lot healthier. And that speaks volumes to me, and about how the impact of this invisible killer affects everybody, but particularly for me, it was a personal journey from being so worried about her when she was coughing, almost choking, to a point where she's just thriving in a clean environment. And we all have a right to breathe in clean air, and that's why making informed decisions where the information is out there and is really available is a good step in the right direction.
Have you mellowed in your old age?
Oh, aye, big time.
Yeah? You had to, because you had a big health scare, didn't you?
Aye, well, that was 6 years ago or so. Yeah, I wasn't feeling well, and I hid in the bathroom. And Clare phoned Stuart, Bailie, and he lives around the corner. And he came around and had a talk with him, and then he went off to do his radio show Monday night, and then she phoned Jimmy. And Jimmy came around and he took one look at me, and he says, right, I'm taking you to the hospital. And I went to the hospital. They told me I had a heart attack and pneumonia. Because I said, I'll be out of here in 2 weeks, about 2 weeks, because we had a good vibrations party in the 100 Club in Oxford Street in London. And the 100 Club is one of my favourite clubs. I was first there in the 60s, and I was there in the 70s, 80s. And I was there on the night it was supposed to close down. I flew over for that. And then Paul McCartney did a gig at lunchtime, and they charged a lot in and saved the club. So I was really looking forward to doing DJ there, and the Outcasts and the Defects and all were going to be playing. And they went, you're going nowhere. And I went, no, I have to be at this gig. I have to be at this gig. And then on the Thursday night, I took ill, and they told me that if I hadn't already been in the hospital, by the time I'd been at home, by the time the ambulance came, I would have been dead. So after that there, I went, right, I'm going nowhere. And I actually made the most of it. I had a good time. I was in hospital for 3 months. The nurses were wonderful.
Yeah. So is there a new kind of health regime that you go through now?
I give up brandy. And I drink whiskey.
I want a bit of you, you want a bit of me. There's nothing much to do, then try to rewrite this scene. Cause up in my mind it looks real good, up in my head it's so damn sweet. I'm on cloud 9 with my addiction vision that brings me to my feet. Give me more, more, more. Give me more, more, more. Don't stop till you hit that bass real low, till I'm caught up and can't let go. Your dancing vibes like a crime, you know. Oh, give me more, more, more. Give me more, more, more. Come on now, drop that act, and I'll try to stay intact. Stare at my phone just to stay on the low, but you already know this is a losing drill. Up in my mind, it looks real good. Up in my head, it's so damn sweet. I'm on cloud 9 with my addiction vision that brings me to my feet. Give me more, more, more. Give me more, more, more.
Now, during the show last year, Robin got the chance to interview his all-time favourite singer back in the 80s, Carol Decker from Taplow.
And of course, she told us about the song that just keeps on giving. We're talking about China in Your Hand. Let's talk about the greatest record ever made, China in Your Hand. Are you fed up talking about it?
No, it's the gift that keeps on giving. You know, what am I going to say? It's like we had this, who knew? You know, we didn't know it was going to be the hit that it was. In fact, it didn't even exist when we got our record deal. We got our record deal on Valentine, was the one that always caught people's attention, any record companies or managers or, you know, people we were talking to. Valentine, Monkey House, Wing and a Prayer, and then Heart and Soul came along, which elevated us a bit more, and we got sort of production company interested. And then we got a deal, and then we picked a producer, and we picked Roy Thomas Baker, who Ronnie loved because Ronnie loved Queen, and he just not long had a massive hit with that great Cars album with Drive on it, and you know, and I loved that, so it was perfect for Ron and I. And we were in the studio. We recorded in Wisconsin, a couple of hours out of Chicago, and one song just wasn't working, and we had to dump it. We got to the point where we were wasting time, and so we were a song short for the album. And Roy said, "Have you got anything else?" And Ronnie and I had, subsequent to getting our deal, started writing China in Your Hand. Ron had roughed out piano. I had a sort of vocal ideas, some lyrics, and this story I wanted to tell about Mary Shelley writing the Book of Frankenstein, which is what the lyrics are all about. And Roy just went, "That is a great song." So we literally finished it on the hoof in the studio. And Roy put all the bells, and, you know, if you know Bohemian Rhapsody and the way that Roy produces. So anyway, it became this massive hit, but it wasn't even born when we went into the studio. So it's just one of those moments, you know, it happens in a generation, I think, a song like that.
What about your memories of In the Name of the Father? When you thought about doing that movie, did you realise all these years later, number one, it would be an Oscar-winning movie, and number two, people will still be talking about it today?
Well, you know, I got a phone call. I went to New York, and the first play I did was a play of Martin Lynch's called The Interrogation of Ambrose Fogarty. Then I went up back to Ireland, did My Left Foot in the Field, and I was wondering what to do next, and I was going out on my own, and I was producing a movie for the first time, and I got a call from Terry George saying, like, he had a movie about the Guildford Ford, and I was like, I'm not sure about that. And then he said, well, it's about Gerry Conlon and his father Giuseppe, and I went, oh, that's a movie. And it was like instant, like those things happen in an instant. You get the team, the story, the father wrongly convicted, the father and son story, the story about what happens to, I think what happens to father figures in societies where there's not a lot of employment and they can't find their role, in which ways I found like the Irish situation similar to the black situation in America, you know, and a lot of men got frustrated and took it out, got drunk and came home shouting, but Giuseppe didn't. He was, and his name appealed to me. The minute I heard his name, I was like, I love that name. Yeah. And I, you know the Italians, they came here to do the stained glass windows in the churches and stayed to do the Crown Bar and terrazzo tiling. He must have been from that. I don't know where he was from. Where maybe he got the name from the chip shop, I think, or something crazy. But he was an amazing character.
What about casting Daniel Day-Lewis in the movie? Was that always your intention to do that?
It was always my intention. Gabriel Byrne had wanted to have Johnny Depp playing it, and I thought Johnny's a great actor, but Daniel, I'd worked with him on My Left Foot. I knew him. he, like, how can you get better than Daniel Day-Lewis?
Exactly,
Like, Daniel Day-Lewis could play the Queen of England and he'd be great, you know.
So I'm sure our viewers are dying to know, is there any of you single and looking for love?
Abs is.
I need a good church Christian girl, man. I was just having a word with Shay, you know. Find me one of them. So far, they've been bad news, man. So I'm on the hunt. Yeah.
I'm sorry, love, but I've already found my man.
That's all right, man. It's a shame.
Yeah.
I was born in a manger on a cold December night, with shepherds and 3 wise men underneath the stars so bright. Son of a lonely carpenter from down in Galilee. Remember me.
Now, towards the end of last year, we had the chance to chat to a man who you probably won't recognise his face, but you will definitely recognise his voice.
Peter Dickson!
Yeah, the voice of the X Factor. He's got a new book out called Voiceover Man, and did you know that he actually started his career right here in Belfast?
It did indeed, Robin. I did indeed start on BBC Northern Ireland at Radio Ulster, where I first started my career. In fact, I started my love of radio. Actually doing it in hospital radio at the Royal Victoria Hospital. And then from there, I went to Queen's University, did a degree. And while I was at Queen's doing my degree, I got involved in the Film Society. A guy there was a BBC cameraman, was helping us out. Long story short, I actually got my foot in the door at BBC, reading the news, actually reading the fat stock prices on Radio Ulster. And it seemed so glamorous back then to read the fat stock prices. You know, who knew that the price of hoggets and steers could be so fascinating? And I thought I'd made it. I walked down Royal Avenue after that very first broadcast at 7:30 in the morning. It would have been probably a broadcast that only, ruddy-cheeked, fat-fingered farmers in Tyrone were listening to. But nonetheless, I was on the air, and I felt like I'd made it. And little did I know that I'd only just begun. And little did I know then where my career would take me either. It's been an extraordinary 43 years.
Now, you also became the youngest ever newsreader at the age of 17, didn't you?
I know. I think I still hold the record. I bluffed my way into the BBC. As I said, this whole process started, my introduction to the BBC, just as I was about to go to university. So I was still in school, barely out of short trousers. And I applied, and I got an interview, much to my amazement. And the guy that interviewed me, a guy called Michael Bailie, who was the head of the radio presentation, in fact, the whole presentation department at the BBC, asked me what I did, and I lied slightly. I said I'm a student. He didn't know what age I was. These were the days before human resources departments would check these things out. So he gave me a job, doing I think it was the first job I did was reading the fat stock prices and reading the news at close down, because the BBC closed down in those days. Can you imagine? And I did a lot of that stuff. So that was fantastic during university. It paid for my university education. My parents didn't have to pay for anything, and I supported myself and have done ever since. But 17 years old, what a brass neck to walk in through the doors of Broadcasting House and demand a job. What a neck.
And Sally, we loved you in Channel 5's Cold Call, which of course was a story of a woman who got conned out of thousands of pounds. And just before you started filming Cold Call, this nearly happened to you as well, didn't it?
It was so bizarre. What had happened, I'd come back from the interview for Cold Call and was really fascinated about it and thought, I wonder why nobody's done this before. It's happening all the time. And then the next day I got a call from the supposed gas board, and they threatened to cut my gas off if I didn't pay the bill by the end of the day, even though I knew it was paid because it came out of my husband's account. So I knew that myself, but because I was so panicky about the fact that we wouldn't have gas at the end of the day, and I couldn't be able to cook, I wouldn't be able to shower the boys, and I was just like, hang on a minute. And I even got panicky about that, and I said, well, why not? And I remember chatting to this woman And she was so lovely and so nice. Don't worry, we can sort it out. You just need to pay it today. And it was something like £500, £600. And it was my stepson who came in and said, put the phone down. It's happening to Mum. It's happened to Mum. So they must have been going around to the numbers in the area,
yes,
you know, and check and just doing that part. And it was because I was distracted and I was rushing out to get the kids from school and I was worried about it. And that's how they get you see. It's about creating a panic and it's creating an urgency that you've got to sort this out now. You've got to sort this out today. And if you don't, then you're going to lose money. You're not going to be able to use your bank card for 6 weeks. You're not going to be able to have gas or electric in your house. All this stuff that's like essential life stuff. Like your internet's going to be turned off. How can you function without your interview doing your job? You know, exactly, yes. It's impossible. And that's where they get you at the thing that you really care for. You know, your money you've saved up all your life, it's been threatened. And then they give you the answer as well. So they say, don't worry, we can sort it out, but it's got to be done today. And because you've got a level of trust with these people, because they sound so nice and innocent and really helpful and really lovely, it's so easy to fall down that rabbit hole and to be scammed. And I think what Paul and I are trying to say today is no internet provider, no reputable company, no bank, Lloyds or any bank will ever make you rush a decision. They will never say you need to do it today. It won't happen. Yeah. So once you've got that information in your head, that red flag in your head, you sort of know that it's a scam, don't you?
Yeah.
And once you've got that confidence, you're not scared of your phone anymore. And if it's happened to you before, you know that it's a scam.
Yeah.
Because no one will ever make you do that.
Tell us about the whole diabetic thing, because when you think of people, now I was diagnosed last year with type 2, right? And when you think of people being type 1 diabetes, you think of older people.
Yes.
You think of people who lead a very unhealthy lifestyle, like myself, probably how I ended up with type 2. But you don't think of two gorgeous young ladies like yourself as having diabetes.
Yeah, well, I was diagnosed first, so this is my 13-year anniversary actually this month. So I got it the week before I turned 7, a lovely birthday present, and I can tell you now this is the biggest I've probably ever been my whole life. So people really do have that misconception that diabetes, you're overweight, you're really unhealthy, you're not into sports, you don't do anything, which is so wrong, and I hate that stigma. So growing up with it, I often felt really like I isolated myself. I didn't want to show anyone I had it. I would have injected under the tables in the canteen at school. Really didn't embrace it at all, and I felt very ashamed, which is not how you should feel.
Yeah.
And then when Beth got diagnosed in September, we just decided, like, why do we feel this way? We need to do something about it, change the stigma.
You've lived with it, but your diagnosis is recent, so how did you feel when you were how did you know you had it in the first place?
Well, my sister, she's 12, my sister Grace, she got diagnosed 9 days before me, but we have no family history, so it was a huge shock, and I was aware of the symptoms because of her and because of Ellen, because I asked Ellen 100 questions every day, like, how much insulin are you going to give for this? And, you know, I would ask her, like, are you going to inject now? You know, I was very aware of it. So after Grace was diagnosed, I started to feel the symptoms. What are the odds? But I had thirst, tiredness. I just felt really lethargic. You know, I was running to the toilet a lot. I had really blurry vision. I just wasn't myself, very irritable. You know, like I was getting annoyed at silly things. I'm usually very positive. When do I ever get angry? Oh my goodness, I was so irritated. So I just thought, right, I need to go to the doctors. And they told me straight away my sugars were 20. And if you are non-diabetic, your sugars are between 3 and 7, isn't it? Or 4 and 7? So we knew straight away. Then I went straight to the hospital and I got my diagnosis.
So there we go. Thank you for joining us on our little trip down memory lane.
Join us next week for a brand new series of The Big Show.
See you then. Bye-bye.
Bye. Christopher Strait was busy tonight as I made my way back home. One of these nights I'll turn on the light, like that taxi by the payphone. Well, I've been here a week, but it feels like more. And God knows how long I'll last. I picked up the mail from the hallway floor, and I'm finally making peace with the past. Now most of my friends are busy tonight, just getting their kids upstairs now. How did our lives change so fast? You just never know what's up the road ahead, do ya?